What's popular, YouTube? Another day, another demo. And today, we're going to hop in the time machine and go all the way back to 2016.
It's Nobby! Olaf Meister, I love you!
There is no weakness in their lineup, and now.
This is the year of Coldzera. It's the year of Brazilian CS. It was the year of the infamous MLG Columbus Major, where graffiti major, where Coldzera got his graffiti moment, the jumping up 4K that ended the hopes of Liquid, ended NA's hope of what felt like ever winning a major at that point, and did it to Simple as well, who was playing for Liquid at the time. And today we're going to watch Coldzera in an infamous spot, playing on Train at back 6 with his best gun, the M4A4, and watch him lock it down in a couple of different games, actually, versus Team Liquid and versus TSM, which is going to be pretty cool to be able to watch. So why don't we do that and hop in? And pretty much I'm going to use this demo to gush a little bit about Coldzera and talk about my argument for why he should have and should be in contention for GOAT status as a rifler in Counter-Strike. Yeah, that's right, I said it. I really believe he's got some very, very strong arguments right now. And I think most sane CSGO fans would tell you, Nico is the guy. Nico's the one. And I think right now, I'm going to break this down for you. I think that Nico, in terms of longevity, absolutely has a very strong argument on his side. He's still going. He's still at his peak. He's still insane. He clearly has got way more years on Coldzera, who is also competing but not nearly at the level of Nico. But for me, when we talk about some of the other things, I actually think that Coldzera has him beaten. Number one, the results argument is the first and probably the biggest one. So why don't we get that out of the way? Coldzera joined Luminosity after playing on this team after playing in the Brazilian scene. He played on Luminosity for 1 year and then came in, played the MLG Columbus Major and got MVP of the major. And in that same year, got #1 player of the year, okay, on HLTV in the top 20. In 2016, he did the exact same thing. #1 player of 2016 and major MVP, or back-to-back major MVPs. And this left him already on a very short list of players in history who have done either. For the major MVPs, the only other player that I think has 2 major MVPs is Device, who played at and won 4 majors. Get Right has been the #1 HLTV player twice. Simple has been the #1 HLTV player twice. Zywoo has been the #1 HLTV player, HLTV top 20 player twice. And Coldzera is the only other player that has been the #1 top 20 HLTV player twice. And he did it with a rifle. Alongside Get Right, of course. These 2 results alone are so hard to fathom, especially for somebody who came out of nowhere. Coldzera not only didn't have the 1.6 experience of Get Right, he didn't have the op to work with that some of the players that followed and got #1 have been able to use. Coldzera was not somebody that anybody knew outside of Brazil until he joined Luminosity, and literally within 1 year made this team the best in the world and became the best player in the world at the same time. There was a photo of Coldzera at a LAN event as a fan of Fallen that he took with them, and then 1 year later was playing for his team. Fallen famously made the call to Coldzera's dad, who worked in a factory and was making his business was becoming more successful, and his dad said, "You have to stay here and work at the factory because we're growing and you're going to take it over." And Fallen called him and told his father that he has, 1 in a million chance and to take this. And of course, Fallen's a very persuasive man and the perfect guy I think you'd want to talk to your parents in this situation. I can't even think of another player. Like, if somebody else did it, I guarantee you there was much less of a chance that we'd ever even see Coldzera play in the first place. You have to understand, he's very, very persuasive, sounds very mature, and I'm sure he kind of was incredibly convincing. Of course. But yeah, of course, what's come of that, you've got to make that jump. Every time you go up the stairs, I mean, you've got to come back and jump on it. What came of that was, you know, just pure success. Now, it did take 2 more roster moves. They got Taco and they got FNX to join the team. Do you see that bait? Look how they set up Coldzera here, actually. Right? They had Taco run up. They had this rifle around him. But they worked so well. And the style that they brought... I'm going to go on a few tangents here, okay? As we're getting live information at the same time as I'm trying to sell you this narrative on Coldzera, the GOAT rifler. Okay? This was a team that... I personally believe that the only reason NA ever won a major was because of the Brazilian teams that came to NA and competed. Look at this play. Oh, shut him down. He's got a bit more. And they managed to make extremely aggressive CT play look like the best way to play the game, which no teams were doing that. Besides Fnatic, who were kind of an anomaly in a sense. Fnatic were kind of like a Jay-Z of rosters, okay? I'm going to use a lot of weird analogies here. Jay-Z has put together some all-time great albums. Okay, I'm putting my Jay-Z hate aside for a second, by the way. I'm saying this unironically. Jay-Z is obviously got GOAT status for a lot of people, so I'm saying Jay-Z in this way, okay? And at the same time, it's going to be backhanded compliment. I'm sorry, Jay-Z. And I'm sorry, Fnatic. But Fnatic were the #1 team in the world with this era because of their style, but their style was so unique that no one ever emulated them, right? No one ever really emulated Fnatic. Like, not even, like, Fury are not like Fnatic. Like, Fnatic were a combination of Flusha, JW, and Olafmeister, Crims as the counterbalance, and Pronex as the IGL. 5 totally unique players that all came together perfectly to bring this style that, like, maybe JW was the most... the most, I think, important in terms of trying to separate their style with his aggressive op maneuvers. But, I mean, this experiment basically has just never been replicated, okay? Maybe you could say the same thing about Art and the rest of Fury. I don't think they're really that similar, maybe in terms of philosophy, but not in terms of execution. So, yeah, and Jay-Z the same. Like, this GOAT rapper, you guys all love him, everybody loves him except for me, but no one ever rapped like Jay-Z. Like, whoever tried to emulate Jay-Z style. Okay, so we got that analogy out of the way. They were the only other team that did some of the aggressive CT plays, but no one emulated Fnatic. But everybody emulated SK Gaming, Luminosity Gaming, Fallen's aggressive op style, Fallen opping, IGLing, Coldzera and this whole team, and the way that they set up aggressive CT pushes, multifaceted pushes, the way that they would always reclaim map control as soon as you left it, call you out at every single moment. That was what Luminosity and SK's style was. And they, even though it seemed like they were all just playing extremely chaotic CS, it was incredibly organized. And as we saw in that previous round, a lot of it was detailed to make sure that Coldzera looked the best that he possibly could. And they set him up as a star player very well, as every good team should. And anybody who tries to tell you that, you know, oh, well, you know, he just had everything based around him and that's why he was so good. It's like, there's just no reverence here for what makes a team good and what makes players on their teams good in the first place, which is obviously the most important part about CS. The results argument is there, okay? 2 times major MVP, 2 times #1 HLTV top 20 player of the year. And then outside of that, there is the eye test. I think he is the best player to ever hold an M4A4 in history. I think he is the best rifler to, in certain positions. Like, we're talking about moments right now. You can't hear the crowd because we're watching this POV demo from 2016. From 2017, actually, I think this one. But of course, at these majors, with the amount of pressure that was coming in, Coldzera made it look like he was just in an online match, sitting in his chair, comfortable, unbothered, moisturized, focused, with his gunners on. in an upright seated position with his comfy chair arms and perfect mouse placement with the right room temperature. Tall glass of water beside him. Mom in the other room, ready to get him any snacks that he needs. You know, he was looking extremely comfortable on the biggest stages. And again, for a player who came out of nowhere, okay? And he's doing it with this M4. This spot is iconic for him because IV is, I think, looked at by most as one of the hardest positions to play and one of the most important positions to try to take over. So it made for some interesting situations where you didn't always play IV, so you would almost always play one IV at max, and your IV player, yes, he didn't have to show up all the time, but when he did show up, it was incredibly imperative, right? So you put very good players here because this was a very difficult spot. A lot of utility would come out of IV from the T side to try to make this as hard as possible. This would involve either smoking the left side, the right side, or the end and pop flashing, or throwing mollies to clear out close positions, but making sure that the IVC player could not have open lines like this and be very comfortable to stop the outer execs. Sometimes you would put an op here. And for SK, they just put Coldzera here, right? They almost never even put Fall in here to support him, which was cool. They do sometimes, and they go for pushes sometimes. As maybe you see here. Oh, there's actually a little one-way smoke he's got to work off the corner with. But this is how he made it. This is how he made his name in my books. And I think this map is largely defined by Luminosity's play on it. And everybody copied the style of play that Fallen brought to the server. I didn't even see him coming out of the ladder right there. I've seen him like 3 times. What the hell? This could be a symptom of a weird demo. Oh my, okay, I remember this. And there's a player. Desi is literally right below Coldzera right now. So this is kind of a comical moment, but he doesn't see him just yet. I love that he doesn't even bother. He doesn't even bother waiting to taunt him or look where he goes. He just executes him on the spot because he's cold-blooded like that, okay? All right. So here is my next argument for Coldzera as the GOAT rifler of all time, all right? His peak, I think, is greater than any other rifler. I'm going to say it. I think it's higher than... for me, it was higher than Nico. Maybe that's my rose-tinted glasses. Maybe that's me as a North American Counter-Strike fan, since his clips consistently happened to me, you know, in very big games and in majors, very big moments. So there could be that. And I wouldn't ever argue that it's, like, not close or arguable that Nico is right there beside him or Nico is even potentially better. I mean, I'm fine if anybody feels that way. I think it's razor-thin margins in my books. But I think you could argue that this is just to say most people don't even know that Coldzera was anywhere that close. And in my opinion, could have potentially been looked at as even better at certain points. Even scarier, I guess is the best way to put it, right? Even scarier. Because, like, by the numbers, having number 1, of course, he proved numbers-wise he was better, but that's not good enough, right? I mean, we have to say, did it really feel like he was scarier? Like Kenny S, he peaked at, like, number 6 or something on HLTV, but everyone remembers with the Mandela effect that Kenny S has gotten it number 1 in the world because he was the scariest. He was by far the scariest, and I think everybody knows that, unless you didn't really watch the game. So I want to give Nico that credit. I want to give Kenny S that credit. And I want to just say Coldzera, you know, despite getting the number 1s and proving it numerically, I think also had the eye test on his side in my books, at least. So I think that, yeah, here is what I would call it. I would call him, this is my other analogy. I would say he's the Bobby Fischer of riflers in CS, okay?
For the uninitiated, Bobby Fischer dominated chess in the 70s in a way nobody in modern era has dominated, and he did all that without computer programs, teams of coaches or any beads in unspeakable places. He also played in a very creative and aggressive manner, showing his undisputed talent.
And the reason that we've forgotten about him and the reason that we talk about only Nico now is because he is not as good as Nico anymore, not even close. But he was, for 2 years, he was that guy. Right? For 2 years straight, he was that guy. And this ties back into the results. And we want to kind of tie in, you know, Bobby Fischer and the ELO that he had. Oh my God, look at him go. Stop destroying all my homies. I don't think Cold wins this, but... You know you're scared. You know you're wondering, what do you do? Oh my god, if he didn't run out of ammo, man. The Silence M4 only gets 2 kills there, by the way. Okay. The Bobby Fischer of riflers in CSGO. Coldzera, how far he was ahead of anybody at that time, that's Bobby Fischer-esque. The peak at which he hit, being #1 and being as far away as he was. And then also Bobby Fischer, again, like, not just determined by ELO, people look at Bobby Fischer and they say, okay, he was that good. You know, he was really that insane. And there's a cap, you know, there is no Bobby Fischer moment in the sense that he doesn't go off and try to create another game mode of Counter-Strike, Coldzera random, or anything like that. We don't have that kind of fall off from Coldzera. Hopefully he's not a mad genius and that doesn't happen. But apart from that, there are a lot of similarities there in the fondest way possible. So, oh my god, I think he must have got spotted, right? Because, yeah, I think he did. Can he control the banana? Can he control the banana? The banana skin. Wait. Oh, okay. Can he control the 5.7? Let's go with that. Why did he even try to dress it up at all? You know. Should have left the condom on with that analogy. Okay. There it is, Coldzera 1v2. Well, it was a 1v4, but I don't even know. There's no way, right? Yeah. Remember this op. It's going to bring chaos later on in another game. He was good. So that's it. Are you convinced? I got the Fisher analogy. I've got the Jay-Z analogy for Fnatic. That was just completely unrelated. I've got the results argument that's just easy as hell to make. I've also just got the Phenom analogy of just like how good and how fast he got good and how immune to pressure he seemed to be. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, honestly, and again, the only thing is the longevity thing. The longevity thing is a big one. And then here's my final argument for why longevity matters, but also isn't at the top of my list for, you know, why somebody should be regarded as the GOAT or whatever it is, necessarily. Okay? I'll say #1, because someone like Bobby Fischer, even though he is not the GOAT of chess, is still in a list, in a contention list. Anybody who discusses it will bring his name up for the sake of the value of his peak, right? He's one of the shortest kind of lived times as the #1 rated player, but since it was so far ahead of everybody else for the time period that he was in, it has to be brought up. So I just want to bring that up, that is something. And, you know, 2 years is not a short time. 2 full fucking years is not a short time at all. So I would like to bring that up. But then more importantly, I would like to make the argument before we end this video, okay, that we have to talk about Coldzera as, or players like Coldzera, and this is the most important thing for me, that's kind of personal for me and how I view this. And there's some conjecture on my part when it comes to this analysis of whether or not this should matter that much, but I personally see it such that players who get all the results they get, those results that they get shouldn't be dampened by future performances. You know, so when we talk about Glaive today, not the caller he was for the years that they won all those majors. When we talk about Olaf, when he rejoins FaZe and he's just a support player, it doesn't knock all the time that he spent on Fnatic and how unbelievable he was as a #1 player in the year. Get right, same thing. And he's got quite a bit of longevity. And then I want to extend that same thing to Coldzera. You know, the fact that he got the 2-time major MVP plus the 2 #1s in a row, not just 2 #1s. Being able to fall off after that, I think, is your right. I'm gonna say it. I mean, I think it makes sense that you're shooting for this idea of wanting to be the best, right? And I'm sure all these players were, and that's the only reason they ever touched #1, because they wanted to be the best. And they wanted to be the best of all time, probably, and everything like that. And at the time, Coldzera did it. He very much he almost had it in the bag right there. You know, at that time in 2017, before Astralis and before Simple, what else is there really to come for him besides, you know, someone like, whatever, there is still Olaf, there is still Get Right and stuff like that, but just saying, I mean, he did enough. And I just, you know, that's all I'll say. So I think it's just a consistent theme in sports, and people who just accomplish a lot when they get it. You know, Olaf said this, a little bit harder to roll out of bed in the morning when you have won everything. And so you get your major, you get your number one, you get a couple majors, you get a couple number ones, you get a couple MVPs, and it's like you kind of are allowed to fall off. And then we talk about players, and this is why I have so much trepidation when I talk about players like Kerrigan and Nico. I think it's incredible how long they've been good and how they're maybe even still getting better and everything. But I think it also has to do with they just don't hold the candle to the accomplishments of some of the players that are compared to them, right? They're still waiting for those wins. They're still looking for those wins. Nico still does not have a chip. And I think that has to factor into how much he's trying. That's how I feel. So I think that obviously it's kind of a low IQ play to base an argument on who's the GOAT based on who someone is now versus who they were. I mean, no one does that, but I think people kind of subconsciously do that sometimes. And then you see a comment here or there on Reddit where it's like, what are you talking about? What does that have to do with GOAT, right? It doesn't have anything to do with it. But yeah, that's just to bring up that Coldzera today, I don't see the player that I saw in these games. Hold on, let's do another demo real quick while I'm just yapping. So I think this one right here was a good example. This one's versus Liquid. This one is at MLG Columbus. This is where this is the first time he ripped my soul from my chest as a North American CSGO fan. At the edge of my seat, excited to see my favorite team at the time play with Simple. That was so cool. All the way back then, and Coldzera just had to mess up these plans. Look at how far forward SK Gaming were playing here. You've got FNX, the king of E-Box. You've got Fallen, the king of Sandwich, playing with his op. These are all the most classic positions, and Coldzera. This is the most classic setup here for the Luminosity players. When I talk about why Luminosity kind of invented Train and why I feel Fallen invented Train and the way a lot of people play it is exactly because of these three spots right here. Okay, so FNX was the best player at playing across these angles on E-Box, whether it was fighting into ladder, playing inside of ladder, or yeah, again, just fighting and using the cover of this E-Box here, which just created a very important fight where, yeah, you're kind of in the open, but you have a very strong piece of cover that you can use in a very multifaceted way, and then you can use the side of this Train to peek into T-Con. So there's a very dynamic, made for some awesome sequences for riflers to be able to fight from. And then you have Fallen opping from the Sandwich, deep lane, deep view into T-Con, and no other oppers were this aggressive, period. He was the first kind of IGL opper that made it work at such a high level, and he did this roaming. He's had to have influenced the way that Art ops today. And he would just, he doesn't go as aggressive as Art did, but he would take positions that you would only see riflers in normally, and then take an op. And then what his famous move was to take a deep angle into, a position where you'd feel like you don't have to shoulder peek and Fallen would be there staring at you. And then he'd be like 2 feet even deeper, right? A little bit wider, a little bit more committed, absolutely no cover there. If he misses, he dies and you lose the op. And Fallen would always put himself in that position if he felt like it was the right play to do. So this is so iconic, actually. And Coldzera right here on the back of 6, which I feel like I don't know how this isn't called Coldzera, because he would take this flat angle, such a confident play to make. It's something that some people did. Shroud liked to play here, actually. But this angle is just so confident. Again, nowhere to fall back to, right? You've got 3 players who are relatively exposed, all in confident positions, already just slice you up if you come and you're in out of any of these choke points, and they always will catch you off guard. And I think this is where Coldzera again became very, very famous. And this round right here with the crowd cheering, drops his smoke and he finally sees some IV pressure, and he gets like the easiest 3K where we're like, damn, they really came as hard as they possibly could. They literally sent Hiko, Simple, and Elige all at the same time, like with some kind of fever dream, at this guy through a smoke, ready to trade him out. Just one guy. They couldn't get the kill. And again, you've got to understand the pressure in this moment. He made that look like it was just a pug online, right? Just a pug online. Nightmares can't happen twice. And yeah, Coldzera, they wanted to try to test him here. He's in this kind of same position, a slightly different angle. And guess who's running in this direction? Yes, they pulled out JDM because Elige knew better. Let's not fight him this time. Coldzera with another 3K. 12-7, 13-7, 14-7. And Team Liquid cannot get out of IV. And this is Coldzera with no support. Okay? Ivy was always known as one of the hardest positions on any map to play, and it was part of the map of Train that made this map unique. It's the kind of thing you couldn't get away with in map design today, I feel like, because it's just such a difficult, narrow, and punishing place to try to take as a T. And it's also so important because it's the third exit out onto the site here. I can let this play in the background because they're not going to come towards him this time around. But it's something that you would typically sometimes send 3 Ts to try to attack, but only leave 1 CT to try to defend. And so even though Coldzera didn't have to step up all the time as this player, when he did, he needed to go massive. And that's what he consistently did, which makes the rest of the map feel so much better, right, for his teammates who can now double up inner, who can double up outside, and just know that this is just going to be watched no problem at all hours of the day. And Fallen, after doing that push, comes back, sees nothing, and they decide to join up to put some pressure on. And all the while, it's Liquid are trying to make them believe that it's just going to be another Ivy hit, that they're going to jump into Coldzera's arms here, but instead they're actually taking it to the other side of the map because, again, they just know better. Yeah, that's explaining Ivy, the importance of Ivy, the efficacy of Coldzera, the unbelievable rounds that he's had, the great moments that he's brought for Brazilian CS, the name that he's made for himself and his team, and I think the really cool, unmatched, timeless, like kind of not timeless, not unmatched, but kind of hard to match, I guess, peaks. And I don't know, it's just I feel like he kind of just goes under the radar because of who he is today and how many more fans there are of CS that don't really know him but see him play and are like, yeah, he's just another player. But dude really had it. He did really have it all back then. So okay, why don't we, before we call it here, I've just got to do one more thing and watch with you for, of course, his biggest moment in his career, his graffiti moment in his career. That's right, the absolutely unbelievable jumping op 4K.
Just holding a short angle, so
I can set this up a little bit. I was in the audience. Hold on a second. I was actually press at this event, or I was doing interviews. I am over here.
It was a no scope as well, right?
Like, that literally could be me. So see how his arms are over his head? That's just going to encapsulate this moment. Sorry if I'm ruining this for people who have not even watched this. I don't know who you are, but get caught up, man.
Cold might be in trouble.
Tremendously behind.
There's a lot of pressure on him. He's got to hit these shots. We saw Fallen in this spot before, the same spot, but with much more utility to work with.
What would I say, by the way, if I saw a map like this? No one in ladder room control, no one watching the cross, and op alone on the B site. This is the play for Team Liquid. They have this.
Here he comes once again. The first base is a Dren. He's going to hit the ground there as Cold. Oh!
Dude.
What? A jumping double from Cold! What is going on right now? How does he do this? Cold is saving Luminosity with the all play. Unthinkable.
Literally no one on his team even knew this happened because he was so alone on that side of the map. They don't hear the casters or anything. They just see he gets a 4K.
There on the B apartments.
Everybody, this is the most confused I've ever been emotionally in my life. As a CS fan standing here, I recognize that I was just a part of like one of the craziest moments that has ever happened live, right? We all got to watch it here in person. So on the one hand, there's that. On the other hand, Team Liquid are on the other side with 15 rounds. If they had won that round, they'd close the map. And this was Liquid in their best form in a chance to actually win a major. And until the point that Cloud9 won a major in 2018, North America had never won a major ever in Counter-Strike. It had not happened. There's this quote from Shaguar saying he believed that North America would never be able to win one ever. So until Boston, and still without Boston, that's the only one. Dude, it felt like this was our last chance, and Coldzera ripped it out of our hands. He got the graffiti for that moment. I was so conflicted because I looked around. I remember going, raising my hands to my head, and then just thinking, what the fuck? It was insane. But then also thinking, I hate this. This is the worst thing that's happened. And looking around and seeing everybody in the exact same, very complicated emotional mind space that I was in. And that was pretty funny. And looking back, of course, I can remember it fondly because, of course, we got the major in the end. But what a crazy thing, especially on route to winning the whole freaking thing, right? That's something special. So yeah, that was Coldzera's biggest one. And then, of course, actually you can watch another rifle moment, because honestly, the game that I showed you, it kind of wanted to highlight that spot in a couple of games where he did well. The best Coldzera clip, I think, for my money. Okay, here we go. Okay, that was really annoying. All right, here.
Gates haven't been opened just yet, but SK at least will get onto the site and get the bomb planted and put the pressure now in the hands of Mouse Sports. That looked like it was very close to landing, and I think Fallen even assumed that was the case as well. But after he's missed that shot, that could be the difference maker here in this round. Dennis is spamming up through the bench, leaving Coldzera in a 1-on-4. There's the first. Looking for a second, he connects it. Oh, and he gets a third as well. Surely he's not going to pull it. Oh, Coldzera, the man, the myth, the beast. What a play.
That was so good, man.
But after he's missed that shot,
like the spray transfer into the adjustment, like, no, I'm not letting this be random. It's going to be the perfect adjustment into the weight on low ammo, high pressure. When's he going to peek me? I'm going to wait. Swing on him, dude. Oh my God.
The difference maker here in this round. Dennis is spamming up through the bench, leaving Coldzera in a 1-on-4. There's the first. Looking for a second, he connects it. Oh, and he gets a third as well. Surely he's not going to pull this one off. Oh, Coldzera, the man, the myth, the beast.
Dude,
what a play.
It's like every time you see Cold alive.
That was the opposite of random, right? The amount of like calculation, how fast he did it, how accurately the mechanics. That was such a beautiful moment. Okay, man, that's enough gushing about Coldzera. But what do you think? Let me know. Let's start the debate. You know, what are your arguments? Who do you think? What did I miss? What did I mess up? What stat did I pull up that was just not true? I must have bungled something. I always bungle something. Okay, but anyways, let's trip down memory lane. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What do you rate it? What should we do next? Another one of those? I think it was fun. I don't mind. I wouldn't mind. I could just make fake GOAT debates for every player that I kind of like. We could just do like Kenny S next all of a sudden. Top 6 best of all time or something like that. Just because, yeah, maybe we should do Kenny S. That actually might be a good one. All right. Let me know. Be safe.